ways through which audit planning assists in the conduct of an audit. Ways through which audit planning assists the conduct of an audit. We read that auditors obtain knowledge about the audit client through the planning process, which also ensures an effective control and review of audit work. So, candidates were to summarize 4 ways through which audit planning assists in the conduct of an audit. So, before the auditor begins the conduct of an audit, the auditor has to plan the audit. It's called audit planning. And we've seen that it plays a crucial role in the successful execution of an audit. Audit planning involves developing a comprehensive strategy that outlines the scope, the objectives, and the procedures of the audit. Because at the end of the audit, the auditor is required to give an opinion as to whether the financial statements portray a true and fair view, and as to whether the company has complied to the applicable accounting framework. Before then, the auditor has to gather evidence through audit procedures that will be the basis for the opinion which will be expressed in an audit report. But before embarking on the conduct of an audit, the auditor has to plan the audit. A plan, generally speaking, is a predetermined course of action. You determine in advance what you are going to do, what actions you are going to take. So before you audit, then you have a plan, which I've said is a comprehensive strategy that outlines what will be the scope of the audit, what will be the objective of the audit. Within the plan, you also identify and state what procedures you are going to conduct that will help you gather evidence that will then be that evidence will be the basis of your audit report. You understand, candidates? So the question here is, summarize 4 ways through which audit planning assists in the conduct of an audit. The ball now is in your court. Now that you've understood what audit planning is all about, tell me, what would you answer if you are to face this question? Audit planning. Now, candidates, when you get that question anywhere, audit planning, one thing that must come to your mind, right? One key point that should not escape your mind when discussing audit planning is what we call risk assessment and prioritization. And candidates, I advised you the other day, before you expound, try and summarize the points in 2 or 3 words, then underline, then explain, because you are asked to give 4 ways. So you give one way risk assessment and prioritization. Okay, risk assessment before an audit is conducted. That is a key procedure that has to be carried out at the planning stage. It is through planning that the auditor can identify and assess the risks of material misstatements in the financial statements. You understand? Before the auditor comes up with a plan on how he's going to allocate resources. Some of you are saying allocating resources and all that. Before we come to that, the auditor has to assess the risk of material misstatements in the financial statements. Right? Because at the end of the day, candidates, the auditor is to give an opinion as to whether the financial statements portray a true or fair view. He's supposed to give an opinion as whether there is any material misstatement in the financial statement assertions. Understand? And the auditor does that by understanding the client's business, by understanding the client's, the industry in which that company operates, by understanding internal controls. Okay, through all that, the auditor can determine the areas that require closer scrutiny. And then it will come to allocating resources the way you are saying here. Okay, so the resources will be allocated based on how you will have understood or made his assessment. Which areas pose greater risk? It is those areas that pose greater risk of material misstatement. It could be inventories, trade receivables. Those are the assertions, okay, in the financial statement. So the auditor will check which areas are prone to risk. Then the resources will be allocated. And the resources is not just money, but the personnel, the audit personnel, which areas should be concentrated on most, and so on. And then that ensures that the audit efforts are focused on the most critical areas, thereby reducing the risk of overlooking significant issues. So it has to begin with the risk assessment and prioritization. And that is one way, candidates, that is one way through which the audit planning assists in the conduct of an audit. The audit planning involves assessment of risk. Understand? Yes. To budget for the audit. That is true. That is true. Or we can say, in relation to the budget, because a budget is a resource, we can say in just 3 words, efficient resource utilization or allocation. Efficient resource allocation. Efficient resource allocation. An audit plan can assist the auditor to efficiently allocate resources. Planning enables auditors to allocate resources efficiently and effectively. And that is done by estimating the time and effort required for different audit procedures. You understand? But these procedures, don't forget, candidates, are prepared or planned based on the risk assessment. The auditor does, first of all, he assesses the risk of material misstatements. He identifies those areas that are most risky, that will require more resources and time. Then after that, then there is the efficient resource allocation based on this risk assessment, which is part of the planning process. You understand? By estimating the time, by estimating the effort required for different audit procedures, they can assign the right personnel with necessary skills to each task. And that optimizes the use of resources, ensuring that the audit is completed within the budget and within the time frame constraint. Efficient utilization or allocation, efficient allocation of resources. Candidates, another obvious way that flows from these two is the determination of the audit approach. Audit approach. Okay? An audit plan can help the auditor to identify the most effective audit approach. Effective audit approach. Effective audit approach. Effective audit approach. There are many approaches that the auditor can take depending on risk assessment at the planning stage. Because candidates, a well-structured plan outlines the audit approach. It outlines the audit approach, including the nature, the timing, and the extent of audit procedures. That is what is contained in an audit approach, and that helps ensure that the audit is concluded in a systematic and in an organized manner, because the auditor would have identified the approach that is going to take in conducting an audit. You understand? It also provides a roadmap for the audit team. An audit planning provides a roadmap, because a plan is a roadmap. A plan is a predetermined course of action. The audit team knows in advance what is required of them. They know the direction, the road to take, the roadmap when auditing. All right, that is one way in which a plan facilitates the audit of a company. You understand? It provides a roadmap which ensures that all relevant areas are covered and there is sufficient evidence that is gathered to support the audit opinion. You plan in advance. This is the risk areas. You have to cover these within this time. That is in the plan. In the first week, on the second week, we should have done this. In the third week, should have audited say there is trade receivables. We should have done what we call maybe data secularization. Then after 2 months, we need to do this within this time frame, and these are the resources that we need. If it's a computerized accounting system, we may need those who are specialized in IT to help in the gathering of evidence and also carrying out procedures in a computerized audit environment. That one is determined before the audit is conducted. So there is an audit approach. And I've said a well-structured audit plan outlines the approach. It outlines the timing, the nature, and the extent of the audit procedures. Understand? Do you understand? Effective audit approach is a way in which audit planning assists in the conduct of an audit. Then if you read the question very well, candidates, there is also an answer within the question. If you didn't have a point, if you did this paper and maybe you didn't pass it, there is an answer within the question. It says, auditors obtain knowledge about the client through the audit, the planning process, which also ensures an effective control, which also ensures. What is the question talking about? It's talking about ways in which an audit planning process is helpful in the conduct of an audit, which also ensures. What is it that ensures? It is the audit planning that ensures an effective control and review of audit work. So there is a point there on control, quality control and review, quality control and review, effective control and review. Effective control and review, but let me call it quality control and review. That is a way in which audit planning assists the conduct of an audit. Candidates in management, you cannot control if there is no plan. This controlling means, generally speaking, let's forget auditing for a moment. Generally speaking, controlling, you can only control if there is a standard. Controlling means that there is a benchmark and then there is actual performance. Okay? So to control means to measure actual performance vis-a-vis the standard, the benchmark, what is required. So you measure if what has been done is actually what was planned to be done. So a plan is like a standard of what has to be done, generally speaking. It doesn't matter the activity, but specifically when we come to auditing, an audit plan facilitates the quality control and review throughout the audit process. Because remember, a plan, we say that outlines the scope, the objectives. An objective is a target. It is a goal, what the auditor intends to achieve. That is contained within the plan. You understand? So this plan facilitates control, which I've said is ensuring that what was planned is actually being achieved. So this plan is used in the conduct of an audit. As the audit work is continuing, this plan helps the auditor to ensure that the audit is on the roadmap, on the plan as planned. So by establishing clear objectives and procedures within the plan, it becomes easier to monitor the progress of the audit. It becomes easier to identify any deviation from the plan and then take corrective action if necessary. That is to say, candidates, that is to say that the audit plan serves as a reference document for review by senior members, ensuring that the audit work meets the professional standards and regulatory requirements. So I've just used many words, candidates, but to just 3 words: quality control and review, which is part of the the answer was given within the question. So that is 4 ways through which audit planning assists in the conduct of an audit. Right?